Do you ever wonder about events in the Bible and does science prove them or disprove them? How do we know? Look, we're getting into Joshua chapter 10 today. The sun stood still. How is that even possible? There's actually so much that we can learn and grow in and some fun questions that we can ask in this chapter. So come on in and join me. Hey y'all, I'm Kaela. Welcome back to His Word, My Walk. I want to get right into this chapter because there's so much. As we've been continuing through the book of Joshua, chapter by chapter, slowing down, today we're in chapter 10. And there's some pretty cool science involved in this chapter and some questions and some stuff that we can research and be really curious about. So let's go. We left off where now the Gibeonites are serving them, right? They're getting the wood, they're getting the water, they're basically taking care of the tabernacle in that way. Let's go chapter 10 in the book of Joshua. Adonizedek, king of Jerusalem, heard that Joshua had captured and completely destroyed Ai and killed its king, just as he had destroyed the town of Jericho and killed its king. Well, word's getting out, right? So as a king in that region, what are your thoughts? What are your plans? How ahead do you have to be in this? How kind of on the defense do you have to be? He also learned that the Gibeonites had made peace with Israel and were now their allies. So is this a thing now? Is this a tactic? I wonder how many other people, how many other towns came and said we'll be your slaves too, Verse 2, he and his people became very afraid when they heard all this because Gibeon was a large town, as large as the royal cities and larger than Ai. And the Gibeonite men were strong warriors. Yet they still decided to surrender, to deceive them, to deceive the Israelites into being able to surrender. They were a strong, well-known people and town and warriors, and they surrendered? So King Adonizedek of Jerusalem sent messengers to several other kings, Hoham of Hebron, Piram of Jarmuth, Japhia of Lachish, and Deber of Eglon. Again, here on His Word, My Walk, you're going to learn in these coming chapters, we don't get hung up on pronunciation. We get the point, we get the history, and we keep going. Come and help me destroy Gibeon, he urged them. Destroy Gibeon? Why would he want to destroy Gibeon? The Gibeonites are within Israel, but why would he want to destroy them? Come and help me destroy Gibeon, he urged them, for they have made peace with Joshua and the people of Israel. So these 5 Amorite kings combined their armies for a united attack. They moved all their troops into place and attacked Gibeon. So wait a minute. Now we need to look at a map. Where is Gibeon? Where are the Israelites? How much land have the Israelites now taken over? Jericho, Ai. Where is Gibeon? So are the people are still there, but they're kind of owned by, right, the Israelites. Where is that? So now these sets of 5 kings, they're going to attack Gibeon. The men of Gibeon quickly sent messengers to Joshua at his camp in Gilgal. Where's Gilgal? And Joshua's been there a lot. Is that kind of where the Lord speaks to him? Is that kind of like his Mount Sinai kind of experience? I'm just curious in this. The men of Gibeon quickly sent messengers to Joshua at his camp in Gilgal. Don't abandon your servants now, they pleaded. Come at once, save us, help us, for all the Amorite kings who live in the hill country have joined forces to attack us. So Joshua and his entire army, including his best warriors, left Gilgal and set out for Gibeon. Joshua had a decision to make. If he let them attack the Gibeonites and kill them, does that actually solve the first problem? Does that get rid of the treaty? Do we really have to examine ourselves in something like that? Later on, a bad decision I've made and then someone else comes along and they're willing to do something bad about that, but it would actually kind of solve my problem. Did Joshua think that at all? So Joshua and his entire army, including his best warriors, left Gilgal and set out for Gibeon. Do not be afraid of them, the Lord said to Joshua, for I have given you victory over them. Not a single one of them will be able to stand up to you. I feel like, and maybe this is me, and maybe this is something I need to examine, I feel like at this point, Joshua should have this like boldness. Yet the Lord said right here, do not be afraid of them. So was Joshua a little bit afraid? Why is the Lord saying, do not be afraid of them? And then by me saying like, if I'm Joshua, I've had all these victories. I now have the Gibeonites like, oh, I got this. I need to examine myself. Should I have a heart posture where the Lord has to say to me, do not be afraid of them? Ooh. For I have given you victory over them. Not a single one of them will be able to stand up to you. Joshua traveled all night from Gilgal and took the Amorite armies by surprise. I went into doing some research there. Joshua traveled all night from Gilgal. I may be wrong on this, but go and do some research. It was something like, it's like mountain. So it was like 3,000 feet and like 20 miles or something wild. Like they traveled all night. I might still have it open on here actually, because I'm probably giving you the wrong things. But this is truly how my time with God goes. Oh, here it is. This took initiative and hard work on Joshua's part. The march from Gilgal to Gibeon involved a climb of 3,300 feet over about 20 miles. This was 8 to 10 hours of hard marching all through the night. Like, yeah, God said, I've given you this. I've given you victory. But look at the effort they still had to put in. And look at the effort that Joshua put in for the servants, basically, for the ones who deceived him, to keep his oath to the Lord. That's a lot of effort. If I feel like the Lord is like, yeah, Kaela, I've given you this, how much effort am I willing to put in? Do I think that I still have to fight? Do I think I still have to do the things? I talk about this often on here. The Lord has brought you here, right? How many of you have said in a comment here or there, like, I was just searching something, or I wasn't searching something, and this came up on YouTube. And here I am now. I've been reading the Bible for months, for a year. Didn't know. The Lord brought you here. And I have to put in a lot of work. I have to put in a lot of effort. So that, yes, the Lord has done this. But there is no this if I don't put in any effort. Sometimes I think we expect the Lord to fight our battles, the Lord to do the things, and the Lord to just like, ta-da, without us having to put in any work. They had to march all night uphill to get there, to get this victory, and to protect the ones who deceived them. Oh boy. Verse 9, Joshua traveled all night from Gilgal and took the Amorite armies by surprise. The Lord threw them into a panic, and the Israelites slaughtered great numbers of them at Gibeon. Then the Israelites chased the enemy along the road to Beth Horon, killing them all along the way to Azekah and Makkedah. As the Amorites retreated down the road from Beth Horon, the Lord destroyed them with a terrible hailstorm from heaven that continued until they reached Azekah. The hail killed more of the enemy than the Israelites killed with the sword. What? So they go to attack. They get them out of there. They're killing a bunch of them. And then there's a hailstorm. Now, I'm Canadian. I've lived a lot of my life in Canada. I know what a hailstorm looks like. But a hailstorm that is killing them? A hailstorm that is killing them. The hail killed more of the enemy than the Israelites killed with the sword. God did his part too. God did his part in a miraculous way. And how did that happen? What time of year is this? Is this like a sunny day and all of a sudden there's a hailstorm? I mean, I've seen that happen. You know, there's some cool scientific studies of stuff like this that talk about it being like a comet, like a meteor shower kind of thing. It's actually really cool to look into. I think it's cool that people study that kind of stuff. But the hail killed more of the enemy than the Israelites killed with the sword. Like, God did that. You know, sometimes we'll say the phrase, we'll be like, God did that. God did. Do I actually recognize him? And do I recognize him when he does things in ways that I would never consider? You know, if I were there with Joshua, would I be like, wow, what a freak accident. There was a hailstorm today, like out of the blue? Or would I be like, wow, God, you did that. Wow, God, you came through. Like all of a sudden there's a promotion available at work that they want me to take when there was not even a position there before. Am I just like, cool, I must have been doing a really good job and now the boss comes in. No, God did that. Can I recognize God in my day? On the day the Lord gave the Israelites victory over the Amorites, Joshua prayed to the Lord in front of all the people of Israel. When was the last time we heard the word prayed? I'm even trying to think in Moses, like communication, right? Moses said, God said, Moses asked, God said, Moses, what's the word? Like, I don't want to, I protested, God said, right? But Joshua prayed to the Lord in front of all the people of Israel. How bold is that? In front of all the millions we're talking now, right? So again, how did this happen? This was his prayer. Let the sun stand still over Gibeon and the moon over the valley of Aijalon. This is Joshua's prayer. Let the sun stand still over Gibeon and the moon over the valley of Aijalon. What? What does Joshua know that we don't know? So the sun stood still and the moon stayed in its place until the nation of Israel had defeated its enemies. This was Joshua's prayer. Hey, can you keep it daylight so we have more time to beat them? And God, so the sun stood still? Yep. Yes, I can. What have I not asked God to do because I didn't think he could do it? What have I not asked God to heal because I didn't think he could heal it? Joshua asked God for the sun to stand still. Now, there's some really cool, again, scientific fun facts to look into that. Some people are like, oh, the sun doesn't stand still. Like the sun doesn't move, the earth moves. So he should have said the earth stood still. So bad account on Joshua's part. Okay, we talk about sunrise and sunset. That's actually the earth moving, not the sun moving. Right? I'm telling you, sometimes looking into commentaries and looking into Bible dictionaries and studying this stuff, it brings out these things that I just find it so fascinating. And I love to know fun facts like that. But how did the sun stand still? How did the earth stop moving right then? So the sun stood still and the moon stayed in place until the nation of Israel had defeated its enemies. Is this event not recorded in the book of Jashar? What is that? Where is that? Who wrote that? Where is it now? Is there record of that somewhere? The sun stayed in the middle of the sky, and it did not set on a normal day. There has never been a day like this one before or since, when the Lord answered such a prayer. Surely the Lord fought for Israel that day. Then Joshua and the Israelite army returned to their camp at Gilgal. They went right back to Gilgal. Hopefully downhill all the way now, right? But they went back to Gilgal. They didn't stay. What is Gilgal? What is so important about them going back there? What is there for them? But also, look at what God did. Like, what have I not prayed for? What have I not asked God to do? Because I'm like, that just seems way too off the wall. That's way too hard for God. God won't do that. That doesn't make any sense. Science doesn't allow that. The sun stood still. The earth stopped moving. You know? Verse 16. During the battle, the 5 kings escaped and hid in a cave at Makkedah, something like that. They hid in a cave, the 5 kings. When Joshua heard that they had been found, he issued this command, Cover the opening of the cave with large rocks and place guards at the entrance to keep the kings inside. Oh no. The rest of you continue chasing the enemy and cut them down from the rear. Don't give them a chance to get back to their towns, for the Lord your God has given you victory over them. Don't give up. Look, see, as they get more victory, they've got to have this boldness. And that's how we have to have in our relationship with God too. When we recognize God moving in our lives and helping and providing and all the things, we've got to be able to keep going. That's got to be our understanding and increase our faith to keep going. Verse 20, so Joshua and the Israelite armies continued the slaughter and completely crushed the enemy. They totally wiped out the 5 armies except for a tiny remnant that managed to reach their fortified towns. What? Okay, so that gives us some indication that these towns weren't fortified. Remember, Jericho was fortified with the walls around it. So these other towns had other fortified towns. How come the Israelites couldn't go there? How come they couldn't shout? How come they couldn't knock the walls down? A tiny remnant that managed to reach their fortified towns. Then the Israelites returned safely to Joshua in the camp at Makkedah. After that, no one dared to speak even a word against Israel, you think? Look at that. No one dared to speak even a word against Israel, and their God, because of their God. Do I have that kind of boldness, and do I realize the power behind me? Do I realize the power behind me? That as the Israelites, first of all, yes, they came through and slaughtered. But a hailstorm just came and killed more than were killed with the sword, and the sun stood still. That's the power of the God behind them. What power of God behind me do I recognize? And do I recognize it as God? You know? Then Joshua said, remove the rocks covering the opening of the cave and bring the 5 kings to me. How long had it been? Air supply? How long had those kings been in there, those 5 kings? So they brought the 5 kings out of the cave. The kings of Jerusalem, Hebron, Jarmuth, Lachish, and Eglon. When they brought them out, Joshua told the commanders of his army, come and put your feet on the kings' necks. And they did as they were told. Don't ever be afraid or discouraged, Joshua told his men. That's a boldness. That's coming from Joshua's mouth. Don't ever be afraid or discouraged, Joshua told them. Be strong and courageous, for the Lord is going to do this to all of your enemies. Then Joshua killed each of the 5 kings and impaled them on 5 sharpened poles, where they hung until evening. Did you go and do some research in the last chapter of impaling the kings on poles and why they hung until evening, but then they had to take them down? But look at that. Look at how many times the Lord said to Joshua, be strong and courageous, and don't be afraid. And now it's coming from Joshua's mouth. What have I been hearing the Lord tell me? What have I been reading in God's word? That now I have experienced God in that way, and I can now speak that to others. And do I now speak that to others? You know? As the sun was going down, is this still the same day? But also I think it's cool that it references that this wasn't just like God stopped it and it stayed that way. No, it's clear that he stopped it for that battle, for that fight, to fight for Israel. Because now it says as the sun was going down. As the sun was going down, Joshua gave instructions for the bodies of the kings to be taken down from the poles and thrown into the cave where they had been hiding. The place they thought that was their safety, hiding in this cave, that's now the tomb of their death. So that's like a movie, right? Then they covered the opening of the cave with a pile of large rocks, which remains to this very day. That same day, Joshua captured and destroyed the town of Makkedah. I feel like I've said that town differently every time I've read it. He killed everyone in it, including the king, leaving no survivors. He destroyed them all. Why is this written in first person? Why is this a he and not a they? Something to look into. That same day, Joshua captured and destroyed the town of Makkedah. He killed everyone in it, including the king, leaving no survivors. He destroyed them all, and he killed the king of Makkedah, as he had killed the king of Jericho. Way back to Jericho now. Then Joshua and the Israelites went to Libnah and attacked it. Where's Libnah? Do you have a map out in front of you? There too, the Lord gave them the town and its king. He killed everyone in it, leaving no survivors. Then Joshua killed the king of Libnah as he had killed the king of Jericho. Why does it keep going back to Jericho as he killed the king of Jericho? Why didn't he just say like as he had killed the king of Makkedah, you know? From Libnah, Joshua and the Israelites went to Lachish and attacked it. Here again, the Lord gave them Lachish. Joshua took it on the second day and killed everyone in it, just as he had done at Libnah. During the attack on Lachish, King Horam of Gezer arrived with his army to help defend the town, but Joshua's men killed him and his army, leaving no survivors. Then Joshua and the Israelite army went on to Eglon and attacked it. They captured in that day and killed everyone in it. He completely destroyed everyone, just as he had done at Lachish. From Eglon, Joshua and the Israelite army went up to Hebron and attacked it. They captured the town and killed everyone in it, including its king, leaving no survivors. They did the same thing to all of its surrounding villages. And just as he had done at Eglon, he completely destroyed the entire population. Please grab a map. Where are they going? They now have it all. Did they consult the Lord on all of these? Or are they just flowing in the Lord's power, knowing that he's with them, knowing that it's time to battle? Then Joshua and the Israelites turned back and attacked Debir. Turned back? How come it was behind them? He captured the town, its king, and all of its surrounding villages. He completely destroyed everyone in it, leaving no survivors. He did to Debir and its king just what he had done to Hebron and to Libnah and its king. So Joshua conquered the whole region, the kings and people of the hill country, the Negev, the western foothills, and the mountain slopes. He completely destroyed everyone in the land, leaving no survivors, just as the Lord, the God of Israel, had commanded. Joshua slaughtered them from Kadesh Barnea to Gaza, and from the region around the town of Goshen up to Gibeon. Joshua conquered all these kings and their land in a single campaign, for the Lord, the God of Israel, was fighting for his people. Then Joshua and the Israelite army returned to their camp at Gilgal. The Lord, their God, the God of Israel, was fighting for his people. See how they gave God credit in that? All of that. See, and so often we read, when they came out of Egypt, you're going to get to the promised land. How come we smile when we say the promised land? The land flowing with milk and honey. They're there. And they still have to fight. Do we expect when we get the promises of God that we don't have to fight? That we don't have to battle? That there's not going to be any opposition in our way at all? Do we expect it to be flowing with milk and honey? Do we expect that we're not going to have to fight off anything else? Truly, we can examine ourselves in that. And I get that some of these chapters are hard because of so much battle. But again, this is real history, right? This is real history. This really happened. I want to give you your Walk It Out challenge for Joshua chapter 10. And it's this. Today, open your eyes and your heart, maybe even the logic in your mind, to recognize the Lord. Think about the hailstorm and the sun. God did what he said would happen in a way that the people couldn't predict. So today, recognize God. Recognize how he has kept his word. Give him the credit for that coincidence or that miracle or that luck in your situation. In a way that you've never seen before, right? In a way that was unconventional. Give God the credit. Stop saying coincidence. Stop saying that was luck. You know? I don't care if you go to that was a God incidence. Okay, right? I'm not lucky, I'm blessed. Whatever. But do you actually fully recognize God? And give him the glory for it? And tell others that it was him too. You know? Let's challenge ourselves in even how we share with others what God has done in our lives. All right? Let me pray. Oh, God, thank you. Thank you for every battle that you have given us victory over. Every health battle, every financial battle, every relationship battle, every mental battle, every physical battle. God, you have given us victory. I thank you for fighting for us. I thank you for fighting with us. I thank you for having a plan, even when we can't see any of it. God, I pray over the one watching and the one listening right now. I pray for a fresh recognition of you, the hailstorm, the sun standing still. God, I pray that we can recognize you today in such a fresh way, that we will not just think it was a coincidence or think it was luck or think it was something else, God, that someone else made happen, but that we know that you have come through in a way that no one else has ever seen, that you are our God. You are the God of the Israelites, and you are our God today. Thank you that we can be your children. Thank you for the relationship. Thank you for the sacrifice of your Son so that we can have this relationship with you. Thank you for fighting our battles. In Jesus' name, amen. It seems like they defeated so much, but also there's so much more to fight, so much more to go, so many more miracles for God to do. Let's keep going.